Welcome back, everybody, to Discover the Future, the KingsCrowd and 2022 Equity Crowdfunding Week pre-conference jam out session, webinar, podcast. We have several different major brands and companies that are a part of the conference, that are exhibiting at the conference, and we have another one here today with us right now, Dutch Mendenhall. He is the CEO of Diversified. Man, what's going on? How's it going? We were just talking about how you have a cooler setup than we do, and we have to like put stuff on top of books to like make our lighting cool and screen cool. Like, how are you,
Hey,
man?
I've done podcasts holding my cell phone. I remember I was doing a webinar one time during the pandemic early on. I was in a hotel room and I was literally holding my cell phone up while I was doing the webinar, and then somebody else was controlling the PowerPoint for me at the same time. So I've been there. I've been there too. But yeah, our setup here we're pretty intense when it comes to our media stuff. So
Now you got a real you have your very own real teleprompter instead of having to hold
right.
the prompts behind on the computer.
Well, make more money, you get cooler shit. So
Yeah, yeah. We're all trying to get there, man. That's why we're doing this, right? So we can help people make more money and create more.
that's right.
Good.
That's why you got to get nitty gritty, man. I'll open it up for you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm really excited to kick this off, this conversation. I've been working very closely with your team and getting them ready for the conference. We're super excited. But definitely wanted to just sit down with you, kind of like pick your brain, see what your thoughts are of the industry and where we're going next. And then for you specifically around Rad Diversify, I really want to understand kind of like I go to your website, I look through the different videos and different things that you spoke on before. You'll be speaking at the conference as well. What to you, because this is your guys' tagline, invest in the most lucrative real estate market. What does that mean to you and like why that tagline?
Yeah, oh, I love that tagline, right? It's adapt or die, right? Dana White from the UFC said it best when the pandemic hit. He said, "Look, some companies out there, some sports industries, right? They're gonna get meek, they're gonna shy away, but he goes, but I'm gonna run all over you, right? I'm gonna go make money, I'm gonna grow my business, I'm gonna expand." And I said the same thing with Rad Diversified, right? One of our principles is thrive during the worst of economic times. So I cut my teeth in real estate from 2007 to 2008, which is when the first big crash, right, that we've ever seen in our lifetimes hit. And it's not the first real estate crash in the history of the world or the history of the last 50 years, but it is by far the biggest thing we've ever seen. And so everything we've been doing as a company has been preparing for right now, right, for the next economic change, for the next economic shift. Now, when the pandemic hit, we had an economic shift. There was a change. Everything kind of froze up. Everything slowed down for a little bit before the hyperinflation hit and everything started to take off. Before that, there was a strong pandemic recession. And so, we thrived during that time because we were preparing for that before it hit. We've been preparing for the raise in interest rates. And so our thing is, look, sometimes, rougher neighborhoods, opportunity zones is the best place to invest and make money in real estate. Sometimes, like during hyperinflation, luxury homes, high class homes is the best place to invest and make money in real estate, right? And so, we have some fundamental philosophies that we stick to and adhere to. And so for us, as this next wave of foreclosures comes, and they're coming, right? The banks are carrying a shadow inventory. The counties across the country are carrying a shadow inventory of tax deed and lien properties, right? And so we're preparing for it. We had never invested in farms before, right? The pandemic hit. But when the pandemic hit, I saw supply chain issues. I saw stuff going on. And I said, look, income producing farms are going to make a lot of money during this period of time. And, great example, we sold 160 acres earlier this year and we made $550,000 profit. And the reason is because we saw that we could buy it for about $3,500 an acre and we sold it for $7,500 an acre and made money there. And so, for us, it's about knowing where the market's going, moving ahead of the time. I think so many people wait to see what happens. They wait till they see what media is putting out. They wait to see what's happening. It's like crypto is a great example, right? They wait and everything comes out, and then after the fact, they move. And if you wait to move till after the fact, you've already lost. And if you're waiting for things to happen before, if you can't read what's going to happen and then make the moves for what's going to happen, you're not going to make money in the investing world, right? And I'm different than a lot of reggaes, a lot of crowdfunding companies, because a lot of them, are doing it to start businesses, to grow business. And there's other real estate companies out there as well that are great companies, right? And we're having some at the conference that people are going to be able to learn and hear from. But for us, we're in the business of investing. And so, we raise money to go put that money to work into other investments, right? We're not raising money to build our business. We've already built a business. Our business is already successful. And so for us, that's kind of the game we're at. And so we have fundamental rules that we stick to no matter what. And one of them, thrive during the worst. When the shit hits the fan, be ready.
Yeah, man. And Chris, feel free to jump in. I feel like I just stepped over you right now. I was going to kind of have him bring it back a little bit for us. Tell us about RAD, right? Tell us how you guys do, what you guys do, and the importance of what you guys do as well.
Yeah, RAD, we invest in real estate. We're a real estate company, right? I say, we're real estate dogs. I started, as dirt poor as it gets. My parents are alcoholics. I lived on my own at 16. They were both real estate agents. They both made investments. Because of that lifestyle, though, they didn't know how to live life the right way. And so, over the years, no matter how hard I wanted to get away with real estate, it just kept pulling me back in. And I started teaching and training as I had done my first flips and deals. And then at one point in time, all our students said to me, they said, Dutch, we're scared shitless to go and invest our money ourselves, to go do deals ourselves. Can you do it with us? Can you put your money where your mouth is? And they were kind of calling me out a little bit, right? And, I have a natural resistance to other people telling me what to do. I'm sure you guys kind of know what that feeling is like when other people are telling you how you should live life or what you should do. There's a natural resistance to it, a little bit of that, rebellious spirit. But at the same time, there are people that are paying me money to teach them and train them, right? And I have a responsibility. And when I looked at industry standards, even our own success rate, in 2015, 1%, 5% of them ever doing deals, ever really making money in real estate, I was almost embarrassed, right? In the sense that I saw how many people were paying us for training and education. I said, look, no more. I'm not going to sell training. I'm not going to sell education. We're going to give training and education to our people, and we're going to invest with them. And we were a $3 to $5 million company at that point in time, and working hard to try and grow our company. And we invested in real estate, but by doing that, it shifted the entire game for us. We started investing hand in hand with our students, and so instead of students, they became our investors. They became our tribe. They became our people. And now, $150 million portfolio later, 30% returns for our investors, 3 straight years. Everybody always says, let's make sure we do all the right disclosures, right? I'm not going to tell you that we're going to make 30% in the future, but what we are going to do is going to continue to invest the right way, going to continue to buy the next right property, continue to do things differently, right? Things are changing, times are changing, right? And I'm sure you guys do all the disclosures, but let's make sure we're going to, you guys are the center focus of crowdfunding of the industry, right? Past performance doesn't indicate future performance. Not an attorney, accountant, right? Can't give you financial or legal advice, but I will tell you what I know. I will tell you what we've done, and that's make people money.
So, it's really cool, and I want to get at one thing that I find very interesting about your business. So, I think a lot of people know what a REIT is, right? A real estate investment trust. I think a lot of people have heard of those. Maybe they've traded them on Robinhood or whatever. You guys are a little bit different. It's a non-traded REIT, which is one difference. But get into how this model, the $100 million plus you've amassed in properties, is different, is better than a traditional, investment into just a REIT that's on the stock market.
Yeah, I can't even, I'm not going to go to the place where say, it's better or what. We are different, right? What I like about being non-traded, what I personally didn't want, and not that I ever want to offend, powerful beings, but at the same time, like Bezos, Musk, right, Gates, Buffett, right? I don't want to tweet from one of them to change my stock price. I don't want the government, passing the newest regulation to change my stock price. This has been a crazy economy. We're going through different times right now. I don't want the election that we're getting ready to see in 15 days. We'll see crashes, we'll see rises all in the next 20 days. I don't want that to affect my stock price. So our stock prices changes quarterly, and it changes based on net asset value change, which means if our assets go up in value, if we increase our total number of assets, our stock price goes up for our investors. And so far we've been able to do it 11 consecutive quarters. We're on, later this month we'll announce our 12th quarter of returns. I can't say whether those go up or down, but I know, we'll announce that later this month. Rad Diversified, there was a point in time when it was on, the backs of myself and my business partner, Amy. Reality is, we're a 200-person, family as a company, right? We have a scholarship program for our employees. We give a ton of money to our nonprofits, Task Force Dagger, which is, special operations, individuals and operators and supporting cast, right, that go out and fight the battles for us. So we give a lot to them. It's a part of our mission. Special Operations Wounded Warriors, we give a lot to them. Children's Health Defense, Joshua House. We're a philanthropic organization that, invests, but we have greater purpose and meaning, right? We have a scholarship program for our employees, for every single one of them that wants to go to, and continue their education, every single one of their children that wants to continue their education. We have a scholarship program for them. And it's something that, we like to do stuff the right way. I have my family, my kids and my wife, and I have God. And right after that, I have my 200 plus team members, right? And right after that, I have my 5,000, plus investors that have invested with us. And so there's, honoring them, taking care of them, making sure we make the right decisions and continuing, sometimes it's not always as lucrative to make the right decisions, the long-term decisions. But over time, we've proven it's what works and it's who we are. And I just want to say those things. If you ask who Rad is, without saying those things, you can't know really who we are.
And listen, I've been able to watch your videos. I've been able to talk to your team. They see your passion because they talk to your passion as well. And so seeing it firsthand, I love it. And if you're not as passionate about your business, then your employees aren't as passionate about your business, and you're not being able to give them passion, right? And it's kind of taking it back to what you said about like the stock market, right? The commodity of it, and not having someone tweet to change your stock price and things like that. What do you see that being, with everything we're looming on an economic downturn right now, right? And we're talking about the change in crypto and blockchain, and what do you see for the people that is going to be the shift when it comes to equity crowdfunding in the growth of businesses, even especially we talked about we're in the real estate market, right? Is the highest commodity that you can buy. What do you see the future of this being for businesses that are revolutionizing inside of the real estate market now? So some of your counterparts, some of these people that you might speak with at the conference, like what is that difference for you that you think will transform the entire industry?
I'm gonna do my best to serve you, right? First thing is, I think, I like to believe we live in epic times. I like to believe we live in a unique time in history. I think everything that we're doing right now is accelerating. I think time, the time gaps and time lapses are accelerating. What I'm talking about is the economic cycles are speeding up, technology is speeding up, AI is speeding up, right? Things around the world are speeding up. And if you go and you look at the time frames of things, and so I attribute that to the stock market, right? And I think the stock market will start to become more and more superficial. And what I mean is that, the way it goes up and down and the way it's a yo-yo, I think your normal investors getting kind of tired of it. I think they're a little bit over it. And I think they want to invest in good companies. They want to invest in good projects. And so I feel like that's where the crowdfunding, I feel like the reggae industry, which is, the security we fall under, the regulation we fall under, right, is something different. And I like it. I like it for that reason, because we're a unique group. I think we're entrepreneurs in our hearts, and so you have that innovative spirit that is what our country is, right? I think I still believe we live in the greatest country in the world. I believe in everything that we do, and yeah, there's the political turmoil, the back and forth, a lot of the shit that's out there, it sucks, but the reality is we still get the ability to do incredible things in this country and in this world, and it's something, for us, we're willing to fight for. And so I think where crowdfunding is so strong is it gives people something that say, hey, I can put my money here, and I'm not, as I'm not worried about something that's outside of normal business, right? Every business can fail. Any real estate investment could fail. Those things are facts. The difference is an outside force, right? The war in Ukraine and Russia isn't going to cause, my company to go out of business tomorrow. It's just not. And so like for me, the war in Russia causes me to have action. What does that mean? Well, on our farms, we went and planted winter wheat. Well, Ukraine was one of the largest wheat producers in the world, and because of the war, right, there became a shortage in that demand, and so we moved to plant winter wheat on our farms this winter, and so we'll have yields and we'll make money for our investors that way. Now, I talk a decent amount of our farms too, because I also believe that for me, it's important that we protect our food supply, we protect our housing. I've always said people need to eat and they need a place to sleep. And so that's why, we do what we do and we continue to invest the way we invest.
I think that's exactly right. Because it's like, if your net asset value, which AKA just literally means if you take everything you guys have invested in, the property value, if tomorrow something happens in the news or Elon Musk tweets or whatever, that doesn't mean that your properties are worth less money. But in the stock market, that will happen. Or I don't know, any sort of news event could set that off. And it just causes stock market sellers in general to go selling and change the value. When in reality, if you were just adding more properties to your base and you're creating more value in those properties and you're getting more cash flows back from them, the value is the value is the value. So to be a part of something where hey, I'm going to invest in this real estate, and as it goes up in value, I will continue to see returns from that, rather than just kind of playing this game. I do think there's so much good in that. And I love that you're taking the approach to do something different and taking a unique angle to kind of creating this investment management company into real estate with also a really positive social lens as well.
Yeah, I mean, real estate is a long-term game. Anybody who, is watching, infomercials and it's get quick rich or the wholesaling or whatever else, right? That's not true real estate. That's what infomercials and what people who talk too much say, right? The reality is real estate is in long-term investing. It's a long-term game. And so what the stock market does to REITs is it causes daily or even moment by moment ups and downs. What we do with the way we do our reporting, those kind of things, it kind of takes advantage of the long-term cycle. Anybody can look at real estate over a 100-year cycle and see the difference between a house that was bought in LA for $5,000, 40 years ago and is now worth, $700,000. Can see what the long-term play of real estate always is. And it's going to get a lot more scarce for the individual to be able to play in the game. And that's one of the things that I, love about Rad Diversified is it gives everyone the ability to play in the real estate game. And it gives everyone the ability to work with an elite group, right? To be able to do that. People that live and die and breathe real estate every day of their life.
That's powerful. I think about I was talking to my mom, and I own a home in Maryland, and she was like, "Oh, have you looked at, has your equity went up or through this, through the pandemic?" And I was like, I haven't really looked at it, because in my mind I'm thinking it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, because it's all based on how the market is functioning, what's happening in the world. And I think that, it is a little scary. I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on are we going to see another housing market crash, right? Are we looming on that, right? We hear all these different reports, these different articles coming out about it, but what is the best thing? For me, I own a home. What's the best thing for me to do right now that I own a home, right? Instead of if I want to go buy a home, now you're getting high interest rates currently right now. But if I have a home already, what do I have to look forward to with everything?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Warren Buffett, who's an investing genius, and we all know that, right? He's always buying everything for what the long-term play is, right? And he looks at stuff for what the long-term play is. When I look at houses and I look at housing, I'm always looking at what is the long-term play, what is the right decision. This is going to be one of the first times in the last decade that you can truly get into real estate and get into housing with good prices. And as prices change and adjust, where you can actually negotiate, you can buy off market, right? It'll be in the first time in 3 years where you can buy foreclosures, right? And so the people with the most cash, with the most amount of money, are going to win the most. And I don't say that at the sense that hey, it's really cool to be us because we run a REIT and we run a fund. That's just facts about the world and facts about the industry, right? People sugarcoat things because they don't want to just state what's the truth or what the facts are. The facts are there will always be people in this world who lose their property to foreclosures. And that sucks, but that's just the reality of the world we live in. There will always be addictions. There will always be mental illness. There will always be people who pass away and die. There will always be divorces. There will always be other kinds of emergencies. What RAD does in those situations is we treat people as best and as well as anyone else in the world ever could. we'll sell our finance properties back to people. We'll create payment plans for people. We'll try and keep people in their homes and their properties because we're doing what's right by people. But when the government forecloses on a property through a tax foreclosure, or a mortgage company forecloses on a property, that's not us Rad Diversified REIT foreclosing. That's us saying, okay, these properties are coming on the market to sell. Now we're going to go ahead and purchase and buy them. Now, where we're at with the economy right now, with the market, right? The government raised interest rates because they're wanting to slow this inflation. Now, it's not something I politically agree with. I am against the constant raising of interest rates. If you go back and you look at what our current Fed, chair looks up to, and the last time we raised interest rates like this, America's unemployment went to over 11%. Now, you and I are too young to know what that world looks like, to know what the 70s and what 11% interest rates was like, and know what 12% interest rates and 11% unemployment was like, right? I can't imagine that. I can't fathom a world where people are looking for jobs in America and they can't find them. I can't fathom a world where the only unemployment we truly have in America is underemployment because people are more educated and have more experience in the jobs that sometimes they get, or people are in the wrong careers or the wrong jobs and they need to move to where they belong and what is right for them from a career standpoint. And so, that's my opinion about it. I feel like, real estate, it was the strongest, most stabilizing force, in my opinion, right, in the American economy, and raising interest rates is only an attack on some of the raising prices. But I also agree we have to do things to curb inflation. So what we're going to have happen in the next year, my belief is, and some of this, might be politically, motivated, is that my belief is they'll continue to see raised interest rates. And we'll continue to see that. And so we'll continue to see prices hold in the real estate market. We'll continue to see some appreciation, but what you're going to see in the real estate market is you're going to see rents go up. And so where this is going to affect the average American more than anything is it's going to force rents to go up, because when home prices don't go up, rents go up. And when home prices go up, rents kind of hold, because instead of paying rent, someone could go buy a home. And so that's the exchange, that's the trade-off with the industry. And so if you understand the yin and the yang of the industry, you understand what to invest in and where to invest. So for the first time in many years, we're investing into workforce housing, we're investing into new construction, we're investing into apartments. If people invested into new construction 2 or 3 years ago, they made a mistake. It wasn't the right timing. Timing is everything. But it's the same thing, right, in the stock market, right? Timing is everything. If you get the timing right, same thing in crypto. If you get the timing right, you win. What you're investing in, is people who understand the timing and get the timing right. And so we'll see foreclosures start to hit the marketplace. And so, we'll see a massive wealth transfer, right? Baby boomers are getting past being retirement age, and they're getting into the next phases of life. And so you're going to see a tremendous amount of that wealth be passed down to people in their 30s and 40s. And so you're going to see some of that shift. And so people are going to be buying certain type of real estate, certain type of properties, certain type of investments because of that. And so I feel like where we're going to see is we're going to see more foreclosures, but we're not there where you're going to see a 2008 crash, because this isn't a real estate crash. This is a market slowdown, and a forced market slowdown by the government. There are powers beyond you and I's control. We all know that. And there are people that are controlling our economy, controlling the markets, controlling different things. And so, I can't control these things. I can't control whether Biden or Trump is president. I can't control whether I live in a blue or a left state or a red state or a purple state. I can't control those things. Those things are all out of my control, right? What I can control is paying attention to what the policies are, paying attention to what's happening, and then act and make my investments accordingly because of that. And so, that's, what we're seeing on the landscape. Like we have, 2, full-time research analysts, on our team, full-time R&D on our team. So they're looking at the demand, they're looking at the supply, they're looking at the markets every single day. And then they're bringing that to me because from my standpoint, I'm still a person that likes to direct, right, our direction of investment. Now, my brother Dory runs our day-to-day real estate operations, right? And so, we're a company that, people always ask, what happens if you die, Dutch? I'm always like, that's pretty morbid, but to an investor, that's real, right? As you're running a company and an organization. And so, my brother Dory runs our day-to-day operations on our real estate, and Dustin Warner runs our day-to-day on our farms and those kind of things. But yeah, you guys just got me going on transcendental, tangents.
Well, just to keep you going, quick question for you here. Maybe not quick. You've obviously utilized some of the rules that came out of the Jobs Act in order to enable your customers to be able to buy into these funds and what have you. Can you talk a little bit about what you think can be done within the equity crowdfunding industry, specifically on the regulatory front, that you think can be done differently to help improve it and create even better outcomes for potential investors?
Well, I'm always going to be very careful. I'm never going to tell anyone at the SEC or anyone at FINRA what to do. They're incredible people who work their asses off to protect investors, right? And I'm just kind of joking a little bit, but the regulatory compliance is important. And I think one of the things that could be done is for individuals like me. Like at this point in time, I work my ass off on compliance. We have an entire compliance department. We have our auditors and those kind of things. But you go back 3 years ago when I was running, my Regulation D, private equities, and I never crowdfunded before, and those kind of things, right? I had no idea, what lawyers to go to, what accountants to go to, and all of those kind of things. And I think, in the crowdfunding industry, I think that is very important because you can find attorneys all day long that'll tell you they can get it done, and they start giving stuff to the SEC, and the SEC clearly knows whether these lawyers have done this before or not. They clearly know whether people are following regulations or not. They know what they're doing over there, right? And so they're gonna make sure, to the average consumer, they're gonna make sure that inexperience is not something I'm sure they're in love with. And so for me, what would have made it easier is if I could have understood more, right, before I had no choice but to go into it. Because for us, we had, thousands of investors who wanted to invest with us, and we're like, well, we aren't legally allowed them back then for them to invest with us. So for me, that would be very helpful is just, basically an ability for the new companies to be walked through, but also to have compliance and regulation and those kind of things. I think if there was more companies that managed compliance for companies like mine, and you can say be, broker dealers all day long, but, does a new company even know what a broker dealer is? The first entrepreneur who's trying to raise money for the first time. I really didn't truly know 5 years ago what a broker dealer was. I knew, that there's brokers in the real estate industry and the mortgage industry, but I didn't really know securities. I didn't know some of those things, and but compliance is important, and what they do is important. I'd turn it back on you guys, right? What do you guys think is going to happen, that's going to change regulatory in the next 12 months, or what do you think would help more companies like mine?
I'm kind of on both sides of it, right? And in one way, we've raised capital from the general public, and I've gone through the process myself. And I do think there are challenges with the process, especially when you're dealing with younger companies trying to maneuver what is a kind of a complex landscape. And it is managing that, the compliance element and making sure you protect investors while still creating enough room for founders to be able to have capital formation and build the things that they want to build. And there does need to be a balance there. But I think ultimately, if we can see that there are positive outcomes and founders are doing the right things in the years to come, hopefully we can continue to improve Reg CF to become a larger and larger cap limit, so that it enables companies to get to a more mature place before they feel the need to cross over into Regulation A+, which is much more burdensome and just requires being at a level that is above what a CF company needs to be at. And I think that would be a good outcome.
I think at RAD, we're a little unique, right? Because we're not just a big company that saw, oh, there's a Regulation A, there's a crowdfunding thing here, we should utilize this and source this to grow our company, right? We're a company that started raising money for the first time as a Reg D, in 2015, and then, realized that, where we needed to go was into Regulation A, and go through all the securities. And so we cut our teeth in this industry, but we've also had tremendous success, right? Having raised the money we've raised, having grown the portfolio, going from 35 to 200 employees. And so, we're also, kind of revolutionary in the sense that, we're a success story in this industry with what we do. And for me, I think one of the important things is for people like me to be transparent, to be open, to be able to, be a resource. And yeah, I can't do 1,000 phone calls with 1,000 new companies who want to, go through crowdfunding. But what I can do is things like this to be able to help them. Not everybody knows what it's like, when the pandemic hit in 2020 and your investors are all freaking out, right? And how do you handle that? How do you manage your investors when they're all freaking out? What RAD did is we did our first ever guarantee. We did a 5% guaranteed distribution to our investors. And all the attorneys are like, Dutch, you can't do a guarantee. You're not allowed to do a guarantee. And I said, I said, where? I said, where in the regulations, where in the legislature, where in the laws am I not allowed to do a guaranteed distribution? All I'm saying is I'm going to make sure that my investors have access to their capital. I want to be real with my investors and say, hey, other REITs that are in the stock market are freezing withdrawals, they're freezing new investments. Some stock trading was frozen, right? Different things. And, we're going to do it different at RAD. And so now 2020, we did our first 5%. 2021, we did 5%. This year in 2022, we did an 8% distribution to our investors, right? And but I have learned how to manage some of those things and manage those expectations. And how much communication do you have with investors? Like for us, we talk to our investors every month. We do open, transparent phone calls, right? That's not something that traditional investment companies do. They don't open up the phone lines and say, ask me anything you want every single month. But for me, we live in this modern world. We're in a social world. We're in an engagement world. So running, an organization like ours with the amount of investors that we have, being open, being truthful, being transparent, being real. And the thing is, I tell you, if I'm an investor and I'm out there, and in today's world, if the companies aren't being open with me, if they're not being transparent with me, if they're not answering my questions, if they're not giving access to me, I personally would not invest with them, right? I can't give people personal financial advice being under the regulations we are. But right, for me, like then in this world, there's no reason you shouldn't know everything about the companies you invest in. Because this is a world of real time, real stuff that's going on. And if there's some mystery about what the company does, then run away. And if there's, evergreen, super promised returns, guaranteed returns for life, then run away, because that stuff's not reality. I think one of the things maybe the SEC, and I know they're working at it every day because they literally live a life of working to protect the American consumer, the American investor, is when I see stuff out there and I see advertising and someone's promising they're making this an investment and what they're predicting is the returns of that investment in 2024, I don't think that should be allowed. I think trying to predict future returns is something I was told from day one in this industry that we should not be doing for people, right? I think that to me is sketchy. And I also see companies out there that aren't Reg A's, that aren't crowdfunding companies that are out there advertising and marketing. And I don't just see it right out there in like the social world. I see it in conferences and events and booths right around our country. When I'm out, people ask me to come and speak and keynote and share our DNA. And I see that and I'm like, how's that even, but it's a huge world, right? And I know they're doing their best to do it because they're fighting a battle, right? They're fighting a battle for the American consumer. And that's the industry we're in. And those of us who believe and love this industry, like you two guys, we want to support them. I wish there were more ways I could support them, but then, they also got to watch us and regulate us, right? And so, I mean, it's unique, but at least we're in a heavily regulated, a heavily controlled industry. And I like that because when your neighbor's cousin's brother says, I want to invest in a property, do you want to loan me some money? I don't want to be competing with that when people are looking at investments. And it's one of the reasons I love where we're at because where we're at is different.
Yeah, man. You gave me a lot to chew on there for trying to figure out what I wanted to ask next. Like so many questions came in my head, but the one thing that really like stood out to me, right, that you talked about is the information that people don't have, right? Not everyone knows about these regulations. They don't understand this part of the investment. They don't understand where to go, how to get there to the next step in their journey as a founder or a startup, or what to do versus CF or Reg A, right? So for us, it's very important when it comes to the access. You've mentioned education several times, right? And for us, it's very much around access and education. We have to give people access to this education, to this information, to let them make an informed decision, right? Which is where the SEC steps in to protect them. But not enough people know about equity crowdfunding. Not enough people are aware of equity crowdfunding, not in our minority communities. I serve for the LGBTQ community as well. And a lot of these people that I talk to, these founders, my friends, my family, they don't know what equity crowdfunding is, right? And so our whole thing is around getting getting this message out there that this exists to people so that they can be able to decide how these regulations are changed as well, right? Because all of those decisions are being made onto the SEC, but we want to also be able to have a future of more people investing and having the option to decide how they invest in everything that they're doing.
I mean, you know this better than anybody. They didn't want us, right? The Wall Street, right? The big uncle, right? They didn't want us, right? They didn't want entrepreneurs, right? They didn't want diversification. They didn't want people with different thoughts and different beliefs and different understandings of the world. They didn't want us in this investment industry, right? They wanted to control big banks, big companies, big Wall Street wanted to control the American consumer's money, right? And what they did with the Jobs Act is they passed something that it takes time, right? One of the things I always talk about is we started investing in Philly and Houston are two of our markets we started investing in. One of the reasons I was able to buy, when I first started investing in Philly, it's going to blow your mind, but there's literally houses I bought for $5,000, $10,000 in Philly, right? And there's houses I bought, I think the cheapest house I ever bought in Houston was $17,000, right? And I started investing obviously in poorer communities and rougher communities because obviously you're not buying $5,000 and $17,000 homes in wealthy communities, is because of the natural the racism of loans in America was very real. And thank God, today there's a lot of things that allow everybody, of every diversity to be able to borrow money effectively in the United States, but it wasn't always true. And so what developed in certain communities throughout the United States was cash markets. And so these cash markets was the only way to buy and sell property, right? If you can't get a loan, the only way is to buy cash. And so one of the ways that real estate's accelerated, one of the ways appreciation has happened is from the loan industry. Now that you've had a gentrification of different communities, of African-American communities, and the ability to borrow money and be able to invest, you're starting to see the gaps close, right, in that market. Well, you're seeing the same thing for us, right? We're different. Crowdfunding's different. Reggae is different. The entrepreneurial spirit is different, right? It's not multi-billion or trillion-dollar companies that are controlling entire industries or controlling things that each of us can't even put a finger on, right? But it is us making good investments. It is us making good decisions. It is us building great businesses, right? And I'm for me to say how diversified we are at Rad, Diversified being a 40-year-old white guy, right, isn't exactly, the perfection but when people look at our company inside and out, they'll know we're diversified in every single way with what we are as a company.
Yeah, I mean, you're hitting it, man. There's so many different conversations we can have. Obviously, we don't have enough time to really dive into all of them. I do want to kind of ask you, like, you jumped in to the equity crowdfunding conference, right? Coming up November 9th through the 11th. You jumped right in and you wanted to get involved. You want to talk about, like, why is joining this conference this year important to you? And what are you looking to accomplish? And what are you looking to give people at this conference that they can take home with them?
Rad is a example, right, of reggae done right, of crowdfunding done right. Right? I think Rad is an example of a company with mission, purpose, vision done right. And I think when you're working on raising money and you have all of these new companies that are fighting and clawing and trying to make it through, right? You can do it the right way, right? We're not perfection. We make mistakes, we screw up, right? But we fix it quickly, we make adjustments. But there's a way that we do business that I think is important in the world. But I also think Rad made a decision that, like, hey, we're a part of this world. We didn't realize we're a part of this world for a long time. We were just in our box, building our real estate empire. We're working with our investors and growing. But this is such an important industry. This is such an important to what America is. Like, America is a DNA of entrepreneurialism, right? You have an ability to have freedom here to grow and build, and you should be able to invest in what you choose to invest into, and you should be able to grow and build your business the way you choose to build. And so, what Rad, the reason we accepted, agreed, all of the different things when it comes to crowdfunding week is because like we're a revolutionary company doing things in a powerful, strong way, right? We don't have the same beliefs as everyone else, and that's okay, because I can look at another person with different beliefs and I can support them and let them go and succeed. I can sit here and say, doing business right, though, is right. It doesn't matter who you are, right? If someone's owed money, they should be paid. If an investor wants access to their money, they should get it, right? Transparency, realness, those are things that I want to be a part of, and this is an active conversation that as we go forward as an industry, we want to be at the pinnacle of this industry, because we want to lead by example, and there's a lot of different parts to that. Our culture, our people, who we are as an organization, our support of the charities and the nonprofits, and our support of people's rights is so important to me. And being a part of that, I think crowdfunding is going to do powerful things, and we're the next wave of leadership in America. We're the next wave of entrepreneurship. We're the next wave of money, right, and success and innovation.
This was great. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives, Dutch.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. For me, I think that, my last thing I would say probably, if you can, and you can make it quick if you like, is what do you think will need to take place in order for equity crowdfunding to actually go mainstream where everyone is investing?
I mean, our investors, show up and invest, right? You guys are making money, and we're doing well, right? As an industry, I believe we're doing well. Not that there's flawlessness or zero challenges or zero things in our industry, but we're an industry that is of people who are kicking ass for you, right? So you have to show up and be a part of this community, and we have to continue to be leaders and continue to grow our industry, and that virality will grow. Here's the thing I found: when I first had my first investors invest with me, we were very small. I remember the first time we opened it up, we had 22 people, and 21 people invested with us, right, at a dinner. And I remember that now is 5,000 investors. If 7 years from now I can make that same kind of growth, right, we'll be a multi-billion-dollar company. And so I look at where we are. We got to keep showing up. We got to come together, and that's not always easy. I've was in the thought leadership, real estate guru industry. Sometimes I say I'm a recovering real estate guru, right? In the sense that I am an investment leader in our investment world, and real estate's, my vehicle. For us, as I look at where we're headed and what people need to do, we have to continue to come together, get rid of the scarcity mentality, the competitor mentality, your company versus my company. I need to step on you to go be successful. Screw that, right? There's not a real estate company there that couldn't ask me what I think about, investments or real estate or a deal or a transaction, that I wouldn't give them everything, I have to help them understand something that they need to know. Right. And so, that abundance mentality, coming together as an industry, continuing to work on best practices, continuing to have more and more influence and more power because of that. And then that impact that we make, it's off the charts.
Man, Dutch, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person in a couple of
Me
weeks,
too.
and shake your hand and talk a little bit further. And excited to just have other people hear from you firsthand in person at the conference. If you want to attend the conference, you can go to www.startupstarter.co/ECW. Please check out Rad Diversified, raddiversified.com. Of course, our good friends over here at KingsCrowd, kingscrowd.com. And we'll continue these conversations, right? We're talking about discovering the future of industries, and you don't want to miss what we have in store for you guys this year for Equity Crowdfunding Week. And we're super excited to host both of you, Chris, as well as Dutch.